I gotta tell you guys, one of the most interesting thing that's happening with the whole Bud Light debacle is the fact that ex-employees of Anheuser-Busch is attacking current employees of Anheuser-Busch over how they handled the entire debacle with Dylan Mulvaney. Now, we have a former Anheuser-Busch president that is currently completely blasting the current CEO of Bud Light over the handling of the Dylan Mulvaney debacle and is calling for his resignation in a scathing letter that was just recently sent by him. So I found this to be very interesting because, again, I love seeing the woke eat their own, right? And at the end of the day, this particular company has definitely been the prime example of what happens when you get woke and go broke. And they have now got to a point where their old employees are attacking their current employees, which is pretty insane. So we're going to get into the article, guys. But of course, before we do, just consider giving the video a like to push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing because we're on our way to 25,000 subscribers. It says current Anheuser-Busch CEO Brendan Whitworth has crumbled under pressure so horribly over the past 3 months that his former boss is calling for his job. It appears the Bud Light fallout may not be over just yet. In a column for the Daily Mail, Anson Frericks, the former AB president, urged Whitworth to step down amid the ongoing disaster stemming from the Dylan Mulvaney can. Whitworth has clearly shown himself to be incapable of solving the Mulvaney crisis. He's had multiple chances and he's failed, he wrote, adding that Whitworth has botched several opportunities to right the ship in the months since the fallout began. Now, I am interested in acknowledging the fact that they have admitted that Dylan Mulvaney was indeed a debacle. They have admitted that it was indeed a crisis. And I'm glad that they're coming out and saying this publicly because, as you guys remember, in the beginning of the boycott, they tried to pretend like this wasn't happening. They tried to pretend like none of this was actually going down, that none of this was affecting their sales, that it was only going to be very temporary, and eventually it was going to go back to normal or get better than what it was before. But as we've seen time and time again, the sales loss has been permanent. The amount of people that they've lost has been permanent. Customers have moved on. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like they're going to go bankrupt over it, but I am going to say that it's obvious that they have lost billions of dollars permanently from their revenue, and it's something that they are going to feel for the next few years as they now have to find a way to operate that particular company with that much of a loss. And that is a loss, ladies and gentlemen, that most companies will absolutely buckle from. But Anheuser-Busch is a massive global company, so unfortunately for us, they're probably not going to buckle from that, but they damn sure will feel it, and especially true if they're finally admitting that it was a crisis. It says, I'll never openly call for someone to lose their job, but it's tough to argue with that last point. You don't have to look far either. Just this week, Whitworth was asked during an interview on CBS whether he would go into business with Mulvaney again, and his response was beyond awful. There's a big social conversation taking place right now with big brands right in the middle of it, Whitworth said. It's not just our industry or Bud Light. It's happening in retail. It's happening in fast food. Now, obviously, he's trying to mention without actually mentioning Target. You guys are obviously aware very much that Target was caught in massive backlash as well during the entirety of Pride Month and even before Pride Month, and still ongoing because of their decision to sell tuck-friendly swimsuits to young adults, let's just say. They're not going to say it's kids. They're going to say young adults. So that's what they got in big trouble for, and that's essentially what he's referencing, because all these companies and all these people making these statements now, all of a sudden, they never want to actually mention the companies that they're referencing because they don't want to get sued. They don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to stir the roost, anything like that. They want to keep it as simple as possible, but they still want to get their statement out. It says, for us, what we need to understand, deeply understand and appreciate is the consumer, what they want, what they care about, and what they expect from big brands. And then he says, Frericks called the response bland in the column. Again, can't argue with that. Hell, it was probably putting it too nicely. The former CEO also blasted Anheuser-Busch's tepid response to Mulvaney's social media tirade earlier this week. The trans TikTok star basically severed ties with Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch after accusing them of not supporting him enough, and AB's response was basically, Mulvaney did something Whitworth should have had the wisdom to do weeks ago, and that was cut ties, he said before calling the response predictably weak and indecisive. I take no pleasure in passing this judgment. It's clear to me that it's time for the shareholders and board of Anheuser-Busch to ask Whitworth to step down. Now again, ladies and gentlemen, short, simple, to the point. I do agree with this article in the sense that this is what they should have did months ago, right? This particular section right here is what they should have done months ago. Anheuser-Busch should have cut all ties with Dylan Mulvaney months ago. They decided to stay quiet because they decided that that was the best route to go to try to weather the storm, right? They're trying to weather the storm and prevent the backlash from getting worse. So they think if they stay quiet, pretend like none of it exists, that it's just going to go away. Now, obviously, we have proven that that is not the case, okay? The boycott, or whatever you want to call it, the movement, the shift in consumer practice, put whatever name you want on it. It's not going to go away willy-nilly like that. It's not going to go away without your acknowledgement. It's not going to go away without you coming out and publicly saying that you messed up. Now, obviously, Anheuser-Busch is doing everything they possibly can to try to essentially apologize without apologizing. They're trying to essentially admit they were wrong without admitting they were wrong. And that's why people can see right through that nonsense. We can see right through the bullshit, the PR spin, all that stuff. We can see right through it. And that's why they cannot come back from this. It's never going to happen, in my opinion, right? At this point, they're pretty much done. They've lost a permanent section of their consumer base, and it's gone. And I think that they're going to find a way to restructure and essentially run the business with that loss, because they know that there's no coming back. They could try to virtue signal, which is what they're doing, by the way. They could try to virtue signal all that they want. They could try to virtue signal as much as they possibly can by making all of the super American ads that they want to make. But at the end of the day, people will never forget what they did with this man. People will never forget what they decided to do with Dylan Mulvaney. People will never forget what Alyssa said about the customer base with Bud Light. People will never forget this stuff. Like, you came out publicly and said all of this nonsense because you felt so strong within yourself that you were perfectly safe to do so. Like, your company could definitely say all of this nonsense, could definitely attack its consumer base and somehow keep every single customer of yours drinking your beer. You really thought that, and you found out really quick that that was not the case. So this is another big hit that Bud Light is going to have to deal with, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm here for it, and I'm sure all you guys are as well. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.